I'm Jeffrey Suey with Master Coach University, and for over 20 years, I have coached clients through divorces, breakups, dating, finding their soulmate, trying to figure out if they should stay or go from their current intimate relationship. And actually, even though at the beginning of the process, most of my clients are pretty confused about what they should do or who they should be with, by the end of what I'm about to share with you today, they are crystal clear. They know who they should be with and then what to do about it as well. And contrary to what a lot of coaches will say, there is such thing as an ideal intimate relationship. To be fair, there'll never be like that perfect one, but there are relationships that have phenomenal and deep amounts of love and have massive amounts of passion and attraction as well. Intimacy is motivated through the attraction and passion that somebody has for someone else. If not for that passion, if not for that attraction, well, you're just roommates, you're just buddies. And we got plenty of friends, we got plenty of family members who we might love, but we're not in love with, right? So I'm gonna share with you today what I would call the model, the principles behind an ideal intimate relationship. And when you know what these principles are, you can share them with your client. You can ask questions to find and distinguish whether or not what they're looking for or who they're already with is a fit for that model, and to what extent it is ideal and to what extent it's not. And by the way, if you're coaching somebody who is already married, already with a significant other, happily or otherwise, many of these distinctions are adjustable, repairable, or transformable. And so it actually opens the door to you coaching that relationship even more deeply and effectively so that they can actually stay together and have a fantastic and legendary intimate relationship. As I mentioned a second ago, an ideal intimate relationship is constituted by two things. First, love and comfort and a sense of oneness with that significant other. Second, a level of passion and attraction, a hunger for that other person. And each of these elements are created by completely different phenomena, which is one of the big reasons why when we only learn one of these, we can end up in a relationship that's really half of what we're looking for. We might have great, deep love and comfort with somebody that we have no passion at all for, or the other way around, we have basically an ongoing one-night stand, somebody that we just can't get enough of because we're voraciously attracted to them, but we're really not in love with them, and we really have no comfort, no real deep connection with them whatsoever. Either one of those relationships that's missing one half of this equation will never be ideal. And don't you see that with relationship coaching clients every day? A client who has a really exciting love life but no real deep love, or a client who really deeply loves somebody, but the thrill is basically gone at that point. One or the other situation is never going to be enough for any client that you work with, no matter how much they claim it is, by the way. The point of the matter is the ideal relationship includes both of those, passion and attraction, and deep love and comfort. So what does it take in an ideal intimate relationship to generate deep love and comfort with someone? What it takes is what I would call sameness, or similarities, things in common. That's who we love. That's what we love, is someone who's like us. The more alike they are to us, the more we tend to feel at one with them, that sense of connection, that sense of love. Number one, the most important similarity your client's gonna wanna have is that they have the same nature as their significant other. Now, how do you know what somebody's nature is? It's actually pretty simple. Each of us has survival needs, deep drives that are hardwired into our mind. And we all share the same need: certainty, variety, significance, and love and connection. We all have to meet all four of those needs. But the difference in someone's nature is not that they need to meet these needs, but it's which need they value most. The way your client lives, the way they operate in reality. Are they living for significance, like they're going after pride and ego and achievement? Are they living for love and connection, like they really want to be at one with a group or a family or someone else? Are they living for certainty or comfort? They're just trying to play it safe and keep control over everything. Or are they a variety nut, basically going bungee jumping and hang gliding every weekend? And so the adventure hang glider bungee jumper is not going to be super happy with the librarian scientist homebody. Does that make sense? These are very different extremes, and these two people will never have a deep connection together for very long because they have different natures. So what you want to know with your client is, what of these 4 survival needs, certainty, variety, love and connection, and significance, which of these do they value as number 1, and then which do they value number 2? What's the order of what they value? And then you got to find out, what about the significant other? Are the survival needs that they value deeply the same ones or radically different? If they're radically different, this relationship will never have deep love and connection on an ongoing basis. Maybe temporarily, but not in a sustainable fashion. That is the most important factor by far in loving connection and comfort within an intimate relationship. So check that out first. Second, and this is a simple one, these two lovebirds better have compatible or similar goals. And I'm not talking about short term, I'm talking about lifelong goals. Do they both want to have kids? Does one want to take over the world and the other one wants to just kind of hang out on the beach, right? We got to get a sense of, is the life direction, the life path of these two individuals, can they take that path together? Or are they going to have to split up at some point in order to live their best life? This is not to say that they have to have the exact same life goals, each of them, but at least check and make sure if both of them achieve their life goals, will that be compatible for them to stick around? Will they be happy together? Will that work? Because if not, it's really questionable as to whether or not this intimate relationship is one that's lasting. Because eventually, one or both of these lovebirds are going to want to move to the next stage of their life, which requires that they ultimately achieve those life goals. Make sense? And third similarity that is really important and helpful so that your client can really have a deep love and connection with their significant other on an ongoing basis is that they share the same or similar values. Now, values are different from needs in that values are nice to haves, needs are have to haves. Needs are necessities like air and water for your client, basically, psychological air and water. Values are like the flavor of ice cream they're after. They don't have to achieve their values. They don't have to experience their values. It's really important to them, but it's not absolute survival. Make sense? So whatever is most important in your client's life, hopefully, is fairly important to your client's significant other as well. So if what's most important to your client is gratitude and spirituality and joy, if what's most important to their significant other is success and achievement and kicking ass and taking names, these two values hierarchies don't sound like they're super compatible. So you really want to get a sense of what might be the fit between those two sets of values and what might be the dissonance that these two sets of values could create. Because all disagreements, all conflict is ultimately a values conflict. Like, I think adventure is most important and you think safety is more important. Or I think love is most important and you think success is most important, right? Some values just aren't compatible. You got a deep values conflict with your significant other. Eventually, there's going to be a major rift, a separation, the opposite of love and connection between these two lovebirds. So those are the major similarities that you should be looking for in your client and their significant other so you can predict whether or not this is really a long-term love. Similar or the same values, similar or compatible life goals, and then the same nature or at least similar and compatible nature, i.e. the most highly valued survival needs. So now let's circle around to passion and attraction. Again, passion and attraction is not created by similarities, it's created by difference. The cliche goes opposites attract, and that's absolutely true when it comes to passion and male-female or masculine-feminine attraction. So what does it take to create passion and attraction in an intimate relationship? Again, differences. We talked about the similarities. Now, what kind of differences are we looking for? How do we want your client and their significant other to be opposites, to be quite different from one another? Number one, your client and their significant other should have a different sexual energy. Now, what does that mean, sexual energy? Well, there are two gender energies or sexual energies, masculine and feminine. Now, I'm not talking about biology, I'm not talking about physiology, I'm talking about energy. Because no matter what you are physically, man, woman, whatever, the energy that you contain, the energy that you put out, the energy that is you, your attitude, the way you act, the way you feel, etc., that energy is either masculine, feminine, or somewhere in between. So really masculine energy couples really well with very feminine energy. They attract each other like crazy, and vice versa, of course. The challenge nowadays is that so many of us have learned to be less of who we really are deep down in terms of our sexual energy. So really masculine men are taught to be more sensitive, more easygoing, less dominating. And so to be PC, a lot of these really masculine men become very neutral or even feminized. And by the way, same with feminine women. A woman who's got really feminine energy is taught to not rely on anybody else and be independent and go for it and be the boss and all these things that are more masculine sexual energies. And by the way, that's not to say that men or women cannot take on the opposite energy. And that's not to say that women can't be the boss or can't have a really successful business or career. Women can do anything a man can do and do it better a lot of times, and men can do everything a woman can do, except have a baby, generally speaking. So there's no gender bias anymore in terms of what's possible for someone. But people don't act what they really are because our culture, our society doesn't reward it. And so then we put that part of us out there, which is a completely different part than who we really are. And we wonder why we're not attracting someone that we're really passionate about, or why the passion goes away over time. Again, a lot of coaches will say, you know what, passion doesn't last. Well, that's not a really high standard to have if you're a relationship coach or a relationship therapist. The reason why passion doesn't last for many couples is because although when they first met each other, there was a really masculine and a really feminine energy that came together, over time they became more like each other. And although that will deepen and elongate the love, passion eventually would die. And so cultivating these differences is really critical. The good news is that you can coach your client, even if there's no passion in that relationship right now, to become more of the real sexual energy that they are through actions, through cultivating that emotion within them that is more identified with that particular gender energy. And that client can even bring that out more in their partner, because the more masculine you become, the more feminine your partner will likely become, and vice versa. So if your client is at their core masculine and they become more masculine, even if their significant other has become less and less feminine over the years, they'll suddenly become more feminine because they're inspired to do so when the man shows up. Same thing, if your female or feminine energy client becomes really radiant and feminine, beautiful, and they let their emotions flow, that will inspire and call to the masculine inside that masculine partner, assuming you're masculine, and suddenly the man shows up. Make sense? So differences in sexual energy will create heavy-duty passion, which is what every client that you're going to work with will want at some level at some point in their intimate relationship. Next, second difference is not necessarily a difference between your client and their significant other, but it's a difference in terms of the variety of energies that occur in the relationship. So apart from sexual energy, there are also various energies that occur between partners. One of the main energies are light and dark. So light energy like loyalty and helpfulness and being sweet, being sincere and honest, serving, supporting, giving. These are all very light energies. And then we got the dark energy. So being naughty or seductive or games, flirting, hiding, even arguing to some extent. Fighting can be a dark energy. In fact, I'll tell you a secret. With my wife, one of the things I do to keep the passion alive is I pick fights with her. Now, they're not really super serious fights. I'll just throw out a token complaint. And a lot of times it's a little bit of a joke or something, but she'll laugh and then she'll smile, and then it's suddenly we're like lovers again, right? Like we just met. Now, this is what people do, by the way, when they're first dating. They're trying to seduce each other. They're trying to be their most charismatic self, but then that goes by the wayside because they're not putting the same energy in, because we tend to take each other for granted after 10 years of marriage or something. So you want to keep that passion alive, bring some light or dark energy to the table if your marriage or your intimate relationship is primarily one or the other. When you have a mixture of light and dark, that's the ideal, and that'll create passion. So Coach your client to do this. Ask your client, hey, how are you guys together? Are you guys always fighting at each other's throats? Or are you just really nice and good and never fight and always, like loyal to each other? If they're only one or the other of those extremes, it's probably too much. And you want to coach them to do some of the opposite as well. In fact, they've done studies where a couple in an intimate relationship never fight, like 10 out of 10 of their interactions are all positive. Predictably, that relationship ends. Now, to be fair, if only 2 out of 10 of their reactions are positive, then that relationship also ends because it's just too negative. It's too dark, right? But generally speaking, they say it's somewhere between 7 to 8 out of 10 interactions need to be positive, but the rest need to be not so positive to have a lasting relationship. So we've covered the similarities and differences that your client needs to cultivate and needs to discover and find in their relationship in order for that relationship to be legendary. Now, what else is there? Well, really, ultimately, now we're just talking about what qualities does your client want in their significant other. Nowadays, people are encouraged to make a list of like 5,000 different things that they all want in their ideal relationship, in their significant other, and to only settle once they found somebody with all of those qualities. And the fact is, that is very pie in the sky. In reality, even if your client can list 20 different things that they would like to have in terms of qualities they would pursue, your client has to pick their battles. And so ask them to make a laundry list of here's all the qualities that they really want to have, and then have them circle the top 3 to 7. And those are their musts. So there's must-haves, and then there's nice-to-have. And your client can definitely get somebody who's got almost all, if not all, of their must-haves, but fat chance finding somebody who encompasses all of their nice-to-haves. And once your client realizes this and they're willing to pick their battles, they can really be very satisfied and really fall even more in love with a significant other that actually embodies the qualities that they want. By the way, there are also qualities that they probably want to avoid in their significant others. Something that they really need to not have. Something they don't want. And you can have them make a list of those. And then, once again, circle the musts. Top 3 to 7. What are the qualities of that person, whether they're physical or mental or emotional or habitual, whatever, that if that significant other embodies one or more of those qualities, it's game over. It's a no way, this is a deal breaker. Once your client is clear on all these aspects of what we just described, they're gonna know if their intimate relationship has a chance or not. And if they're not in a relationship, they're gonna know who they're looking for. Now, whether or not your client is in an intimate relationship already or not, how can they actually create this relationship? Whether it's with their current partner or with somebody that they can find and attract. The key is for them to ask the question, who do I need to be? What qualities do I need to encompass such that I would attract the mate that I've just written all this stuff down about, the person that I've now defined? Now, again, if they're already in an existing relationship and it's got a chance, well, then they need to be that person to attract that mate in the mate that they've already got. They can encourage, they can inspire, they can create that partner to be the person that they really want potentially if they embody who they need to be to attract that person out of them, to cultivate those energies, those qualities in their significant other. We have influence on each other. And again, if they're not already in an intimate relationship, they can certainly embody certain qualities that would attract them on the open market as well. Make sense? I've personally used this process to help people decide to go ahead and split up, to stay together and actually work things out in a current intimate relationship, to help somebody actually find the relationship of their dreams, their soulmate, so to speak, and also to clarify whether or not they have found their soulmate even before they get married. These distinctions are some of the most powerful relationship coaching tools in my arsenal, and now you've got them. So I hope this helped and made a difference. So what if your client is in a great relationship, but you know it's getting toxic? It's going downhill, that there's all these issues that are getting in the way, even though they really could be an amazing couple. Other than what we talked about today, you need to coach them through a conversation that they can have with their intimate partner that will totally transform and help them to break through anything, any toxicity, any wounds, any problems that they've had in the past. And there's only 4 steps, and you can learn those 4 steps in this video here. And by the way, if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and like and subscribe, of course, and I'll see you in the next one.